Hello and welcome to ARIRANG News. It is Wednesday, October 19th. I'm Han-daeun in Seoul. Top military officials of South Korea and the United States are set for high-level talks on strengthening their joint deterrence measures against North Korea. The foreign and defense ministers of the two allies will also meet in Washington over the next 2 days. Connie Kim starts us off.
South Korea's foreign and defense ministers have kicked off their official visit to Washington by paying tribute at the Korean War Veterans Memorial. During their visit to the U.S., Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and Defense Minister Han Min-gu will seek response measures against North Korea's nuclear threats. A so-called 2+2 meeting will be held on Wednesday with the two South Korean ministers and their U.S. counterparts, Secretary of State John Kerry and Defense Secretary Ashton Carter. Topping the agenda are ways to bring out a strong UN Security Council resolution and formulate additional ways for Seoul and Washington to further pressure Pyongyang.
We'll focus on putting our heads together to ensure the sanctions on North Korea are the strongest they can be.
Minister Yoon and Secretary Kerry are set to hold a joint press conference following their talks. On the following day, the two defense chiefs are set to discuss Washington's extended deterrence over South Korea, under which the U.S. will mobilize all of its military assets to defend the country in a time of crisis. Having U.S. strategic assets deployed on the Korean peninsula at all times will reportedly be discussed during the defense talks. Carter hinted at such plans in the latest issue of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday. He said Washington is continuing to deploy some of its most advanced capabilities, including F-22 and F-35 stealth fighter jets and maritime patrol aircraft under the second phase of the Obama administration's rebalance to Asia. Connie Kim, ARIRANG News.
President Park Geunhye attended the groundbreaking ceremony for a high-tech materials factory at the Gumi National Industrial Complex in Gyeongsang-buk-do Province today. The visit is part of the president's efforts to see how her policies are working out in the field. President Park lent her encouragement to an ongoing initiative to transform smart factories and support manufacturing innovation. She also highlighted the necessity of leading the fourth industrial revolution and fostering new industries, particularly new materials, while vowing to attract more foreign investment through deregulation and reform. President Park also dropped by a traditional market in downtown Gumi to speak with the public and see how they're doing. Most of this year's parliamentary audit is over, but the National Assembly's Intelligence Committee is conducting its audit today on South Korea's intelligence agency. The closed-door audit will likely center on North Korea's recent provocations, including its fifth nuclear test last month and its failed ballistic missile launch last week. Senior intelligence officials are expected to be quizzed on the North's nuclear capabilities and the regime's latest moves. Another likely topic is the recent controversy over claims the former Roh Moo-hyun administration asked North Korea's opinion before voting on a 2007 UN resolution on the North's human rights violations. Lawmakers might press to see if the NIS has some records from back then. It's been just 2 days since the start of an operation to retake Mosul from the Islamic State militant group, but there are rising concerns about the city's citizens who are trapped in what the UN says could become the world's most complex humanitarian crisis. Hwang Ho-jun brings us the latest.
In the Islamic State-held city of Mosul, snipers, landmines, hunger, and thirst await those attempting to leave. Staying, however, keeps them in the snare of the militant group, notorious for using civilians as shields in battle. Either way, Mosul residents are trapped, and the campaign to retake the city could drag on for months. The UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs predicts the humanitarian operation in Mosul could be the world's largest and most complex of 2016. By UN estimates, the military campaign is expected to impact the city's entire population of approximately 1.5 million. About 200,000 people are expected to flee their homes in the first weeks of the campaign, but only 60,000 can be accommodated in the emergency tent camps set up in areas nearby. At least 250,000 more tents are under construction or planned. In addition, Reuters reported Tuesday the U.S. expects ISIS to use chemical weapons in the course of the offensive. More than 98,000 people, including U.S. soldiers and Iraqi security forces, are engaged in the fight against approximately 5,000 ISIS fighters. U.S. President Barack Obama on Tuesday acknowledged there is a difficult fight ahead, but asserted that the coalition will ultimately be successful. The International Organization for Migration says the aid effort could cost an estimated $347 million, but only half of that amount has been raised so far. Meanwhile, Julian King, the EU Commissioner for the Security Union, has urged European countries to prepare for returning jihadists if the Islamic State is driven out of Mosul. Speaking to a German newspaper on Tuesday, he said Europe must boost its border defense and increase its resilience to terrorism, stressing the threat posed by even a small number of ISIS members returning to Europe could be very serious. Raffaello Pantucci, the director of international security studies at the Royal United Service Institute, warned that ISIS has shown the capacity to send fighters back hidden among refugees entering Europe. Hwang Woo-jun, ARIRANG News.
And that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Business Daily is next.